What we're going to talk about today, are you guys familiar with Core A Gaming? I wanted to talk a little bit about his most recent video. Anyway, we are going to talk about learning multiple games today. First of all, I'll say, Core A Gaming videos are awesome. Core A Gaming is amazing. You can see it down here. Really, really fantastic stuff. His videos are super, super high quality. And we're not going to watch this full video, I don't think. But we'll talk about it a little bit. The main thing that I wanted to talk about is, and you realize it very quickly, is that the terms and phrases that he uses are very universal. So let's just start.
Button mashing in a first-person shooter doesn't work because you just waste all your ammo before you got anywhere.
I love his methodology here.
That's why it kind of makes sense that people button mash in fighting games. Most people don't know how to fight in real life. When you have no choice but to fight, it's better to do something than to just stand there getting hit like a dummy. So what are these people doing that mashers are not? Why does button mashing not work against them?
So, what I really like about this video is that it starts with, why does button mashing not work in fighting games? And that's like the premise, that's the title, that's what draws you in. And it's a great title. The thing is that's really not what this video is going to end up being all about. It kind of is. That's sort of the focus on where it goes. Really, it's a trick. It's a trick, like most teaching methods are. It's a trick to get you interested in a topic that you probably wouldn't have clicked on if he labeled it something else, I think. This is essentially a really awesome fighting game glossary. It's probably the best video glossary that fighting games have ever had. Super, super well done. So I love that that's kind of the premise of this.
In many forms of wrestling, the round starts up close.
And he had me as soon as I saw this. He talks about wrestling, and he brings up how wrestling begins in neutral. And then he turns that into, and so do fighting games. Fighting games begin in neutral, and this is how they work. So he does a lot of really good methodology where he shows combat sports or regular fighting or martial arts or something, and then points that back to fighting games. Like, hey, this works in this aspect of fighting or grappling or stuff that you've learned before, so check this out.
Guess who has the advantage at this range? And at this range? The fight ideally starts where neither person has a significant advantage, a situation where it's neutral for both fighters. Mashing randomly fails to consider which attacks have good reach. Having a longer reach means there are ranges where you can hit them while they can't hit you. Why use a stubby jab at this range when you have engine blade? When you start an attacking animation, you cannot block until it finishes. The longer the attack animation, the longer you're vulnerable to getting hit. Whiffing an attack and getting hit before you can block again is called a whiff punish.
So, what I really love about this video, and the reason I brought it up in regards to people wanting to ask about learning multiple games and stuff like that. What I really love about this video is that it shows a ton of fighting games. It has already shown like 5 fighting games, I feel like, at the very beginning of this video. What it shows really is that all these terms and phrases work with multiple fighting games. In fact, they work with like every fighting game. And all these like different things all apply to each game. So when you're learning a new game, all these core concepts and understandings that you have about fighting games, whatever your main fighting game is, will apply to the other fighting games you play. It's just the main thing you have to figure out is, how do I see that in this game? What does neutral look like in this game? Is it fast? Is it very slow? Is the movement options really high and like chaotic? How is whiff punishing in this game? Is this a game where whiff punishing is really difficult to do? Is it as easy as thanking Sursun for dropping the tier 1 sub? Or is it like super hard? Are there moves that reach really far? Do the moves generally go kind of stubby? Is the walk speed fast? There's lots of things like that you have to consider when you're learning a new game, because learning multiple games is the same way.
Just like in any fighting sport, attacking carries.
Damn.
It's especially dangerous in games with long-range moves that start up quick.
Another fighting game he shows.
And have long recovery animations when whiffing. The hard slash in the Samurai Showdown series is one of the most notorious examples of this. Another problem with constantly attacking is that you often cannot attack and control your movement at the same time. Movement matters because your positioning determines if an attack will reach or not. While you can't move your head like
I love these fighting examples that he shows.
When you form a strategy based on movement and striking ranges, you have what people like to call footsies. But the movement doesn't necessarily have to be with your feet, because video games have magical characters that can wheel, fly, unfly, or even hover because you happen to be a punching bag.
This is what I was talking about before when I said that I really like that this video shows multiple games, and that whatever fighting game you're interested in learning, All these terms will apply, and even like he says here, maybe it's not the same as just walking back and forth on the screen. Maybe some characters can dash or fly or double jump or go around the screen or unfly or whatever it is, right?
Well, the first lesson of Chapter 1 in the Footsie's Handbook shows one of the most basic strategies. Walk into your opponent's striking range and immediately walk right out to bait them into whiffing an.
How many times have we talked about this on stream? How many times have we talked about this exact strategy? In fact, we just talked about it in Tweety versus DJT because Tweety tried to do it to DJT and it didn't work because DJT was too patient. I've talked about it in Mortal Kombat. I've talked about it in, I feel like I've talked about it in Dragon Ball. I've talked about it in Street Fighter. I've talked about it in Injustice. I've talked about it in Killer Instinct. It works in so many games.
The strategy is referenced so often.
See? Look at that. That's a rewind in Mortal Kombat X.
Because you see it across so many games.
Down forward one's and down forward two is inside, so that's all AK is doing right now, but oh, he can't whip!
If footsies are about movement and striking ranges, can't everything be considered footsies? Sure, but there are times when your amazing reach doesn't matter as much, like when you're up close and personal. No matter what anyone says, there is no law that requires you to play footsies. That's why most games let you do much more than walk. You can run.
My footsies transcend the universe. Well, look, there's something important, Jake, that you have to look at on the screen here. This is one of my favorite parts about the video.
Anyone says, there is no law that requires you to play footsies.
There is no law that requires you to play footsies.
Sometimes you just want to brawl.
Sometimes you just want to brawl. A lot of people, when they think about neutral game or fighting games, they are saying like, yeah, you know what's really important is the footsies of a game. Footsies are so important because this, and that. And like the thing is that sure, that's important. But also, it's fucking not for some people. Some people don't want to stand on the ground and walk back and forth. They want to do other shit. Some people want to be Dawson players and sit at full screen and just fucking hit buttons that go half screen. Some people, like Kazunoko, want to play Street Fighter 4 and picked Yun because, and I quote, I didn't want to learn how to play footsies, so I just picked Yun. There's so many different ways to play and learn fighting games that, you know, this is an important part about the glossary.
Run, roll, dive kick, demon flip, homing teleport, dash, rush attack, or even do a homing dash attack. These things can help you quickly bypass the fighting at further ranges and get right up to your opponent's face. Playing
Gerald's
this way
so good.
is known as rushdown, or the more derogatory Unga Bunga.
The hell is Unga Bunga?
When people are hurling their entire bodies at you, it can be pretty dangerous.
Look at this. Stupid Dawson player.
Stop this insanity. Well, if you're good enough, you can try to hit them before they can get to you. For example, hitting someone out of the air is called an anti-air. Just like swinging in a baseball game, you can't expect to be successful by mashing. Mistime it and get struck out. Or in fighting, mistime it and get knocked out. Sometimes their rushdown will be too fast for your reactions, which means you might be face to face. There's little room to move forward, and the reach of your attack is less important because any attack will reach. What matters more here is who will grab or strike the other person first, which is determined by attack speed, or more technically, the startup animation. Naturally, the move with the faster startup speed will beat out the slower ones, assuming the buttons are pressed at the same time.
This video is incredible. This is so good. I told you guys earlier on when we were mentioning things that this is a very clever video because the premise starts as why button mashing doesn't work. And you think to yourself, well, that can't be that long of a video. It's a 16-minute video. Why does it take 16 minutes to describe why button mashing doesn't work? It's because it's not. It's actually just the best fighting game glossary on the planet. Video glossary is an awesome idea. And when you use multiple different games like this, what you end up demonstrating is that these terms are universal for all these different fighting games. That's what I love about it. Because he's showing Tekken startup frames here. Now he's showing Fox's Shine.
Because it starts up in one frame, aka instantly. And that jab that I called stubby earlier will beat out the engine blade up close because it's much faster. When you hit someone during their attack startup animation like this, it's called a counter hit. And depending on the move or game, the attacker might get rewarded with extra damage, more combo opportunities, or in Punch Out, an instant knockout.
I love the Punch Out example.
So how do you know which attacks are faster than others, and by how much? A frame is 1/60th of a second, which is the unit of time used to measure speed in fighting games. But thanks to cool people, there are frame data guides that show you the speed of each attack. Since the one jab is the fastest move Noctis has, you decide to jab up close, but your opponent blocks it. This is where the attacker is stuck in an attacking animation and the blocker is stuck in a blocking state known as block
stun.
The question
Perfect.
is, who will be the first to recover and do a follow-up attack? The answer is Blue Noctis. He gets to attack 1 frame sooner because his jab made him +1 when it was blocked. I know this because I looked it up. If both Nocti followed up with the jab here, Blue Noctis would beat out Red Noctis by
Both
1
Nocti.
frame. If a move is 0 on block, they both recover at the same time, hitting each other. If a move is -1 on block, the blocker gets unstuck first by 1 frame and wins the exchange. This is called frame advantage. The speed of the jab and its +1 on block frame advantage is why multi-Evo champ JDCR made an entire video discussing the importance of Tekken's one jab.
You know what I love about this discussion about the one jab? I realized it when I was watching this video. JDCR talks about using standing 1 in Tekken because it's safe, it's plus on block, it sets up your bigger, like riskier moves, it stuffs your opponent's big moves. It's like the check. And it's very similar to combat sports, right? Where setting up the jab is to set up your bigger punches, like everything else that you have. But you know who it reminds me of? Him talking about the one jab and how important it is, and like how he is like incredibly successful and he focuses on using the one jab a lot is Tokido when he plays standing jab, or when he plays Akuma, his standing jab. Yeah, 2 people in the chat already said it. Tokido is the exact same way. We were just talking about his set with Punk. The way he uses standing jab in that set was like crazy to me. I was like, man, I feel like his standing jab goes like fucking half screen. The way he's used it is so good to set up everything else that he does, and it's like such a safe, really solid way to play, and it sets up everything else that he does. It's one of the most important things you can use because it's your safest, fastest, best check in all these different scenarios. So knowing how to use it outside of the point blank range is really, really, really important, which is not even what he's talking about, right? He's just talking about Tekken. So he's just discussing that. It's really interesting.
이런 이제 초보분들이 잘 못 보는 부분을 이렇게 조금 작은 기술에 좀 포커스를 주시면 좋을 것 같아요.
The frame advantage can also help explain why you get hit in certain situations. This is me blocking Law's Dragon Hammer move. This move is +3 on block, and its follow-up attack has a startup speed of 11 frames. That means I needed a move with a startup speed faster than 8 frames to beat out Law's attack.
This video is
According to the
incredible.
frame data of my character, that move doesn't exist. This means no matter what attack I mashed, I would have gotten hit by Law's follow-up move. In other words, it's a trap! More specifically, a frame trap. While being plus is great, being minus can be really bad. If your attack on block has enough minus frames, your opponent will have enough time to punish you before you can recover. But sometimes, even if you have enough time to punish, you might not reach.
Beautiful. The way it's structured, I think, is really, really well thought out. I love that the first thing he does is say, well, if a move is -11 and this is 8 frame startup, it'll be in time to punish it. The next video is, but range is important too. Is immediate. It's like, okay, the numbers don't tell the full story. And that's one of the most important lessons you'll learn about frame data. And we just got here after talking about standing jabs and how great they are. And then immediately it transitions into, well, we talked a little bit about frame advantage and all this and how it works and plus frames and how you can get frame trapped. But there are also moves that can be so negative, right? So some moves are super plus and then some moves are now super negative.
The pushback in Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo is huge. At this range, your punches and kicks won't reach, and if you don't have a projectile to fight back with, you have to dodge and close in. These are situations where the striking ranges of punches and kicks are less emphasized, but there are also moments when movement is less emphasized, like when you can't move.
He's too good.
If your footsies, ungamentals, or fireball game are godlike, you might score a knockdown on your opponent. The downed player is at a disadvantage because they cannot move or attack, while the standing player can do whatever they want. Depending on your positioning, you might also get a chance to attack your opponent as soon as they get up. The art of attacking your opponent while they're getting up is called okizeme. Time an attack so it hits them the very first moment they're vulnerable. This kind of attack is called meaty, but meaty is a spectrum.
Oh, that was so meaty!
Yes, it was. Past Sajam and Yipes.
The later in your attack animation you hit your opponent, the meatier it is, and the sooner your animation will recover, giving you extra plus frames. So the solution is to just block, right? Oftentimes, yes, but depending on the type of attack and direction, you have to choose the correct way to block, high or low and left or right. When the attacker makes this ambiguous for you, it's called a mix-up.
I'm gonna block this whack-ass mix-up.
But what if you don't want to block and you don't want to get hit? There is another option. In addition to being a good anti-air, Shenlong is also one of many different types of invincible reversals. If timed correctly, these moves will be invulnerable at the moment you get up, allowing you to go through the melee attack and hit them instead. So how do you defeat Shenlong and stand a chance? You just move away or block. And of course, to beat block, you grab.
Right corner pressure, Powell going in.
Oh, man.
What's next? Another one?
down
3? Don't tell me 4! Don't tell me 4! Don't tell me 4!
As you can see, Okizeme is about commitments and decision making because the timing of the exchange revolves around someone getting up. Some games like Tekken let you hit people on the ground and from the ground, but you still have to get up eventually. So are these sick reads or lucky guesses?
Doing some shit off of somebody's wake up is a guess.
This can get pretty political, especially waking up super while American.
Not enough to kill. Oh, he's got him again! He's got him!
Such is the nature of Okizeme.
Awesome. He made it clear that it's both sides. Waking up super while American, yeah, because when you wake up super while American, you're the scrub who's the worst. You're not Japanese. You woke up super, you fucking suck.
Some or all of these concepts apply to every fighting game, but each game will have a different take on how they work. And the diversity of characters allow there to be unique playstyles within the game. But the other aspect of what makes these characters interesting is how you play them. One of the most memorable Street Fighter matches was the DreamHack Winner 2013. An unknown amateur Ryu who went by the tag Gandhi had such a bizarre playstyle, he tilted his more orthodox opponent and ended up beating him. But while Gandhi was playing at a beginner level, he was far from randomly button mashing. These jabs, even though he was whiffing against a crouching opponent, indicate that he understands quick attacks are preferable at close ranges. Him jumping back and throwing fireballs shows he wants to throw projectiles safely from a distance, and here he even does an anti-air. His rushdown jump attacks are so unpredictable, even he doesn't seem to know when he'll do them, and when he knocks down his opponent, he adds pressure using some basic Okizeme, even closing out a round with a meaty jab. And of course, he uses invincible Dragon Punch reversals on his wake up to stop pressure. A lot.
Jump.
Not be doing this. I wouldn't even be. Wait.
Gandhi might not have known how to FADC combo into Ultra like his opponent, but he had a semblance of the basics. And it was enough for him to enter a tournament, win a match, and have a great time doing it. Isn't that what everyone's trying to do, after all? This was Gerald from Corey Gaming. Thanks.
You know, Gerald, you're the best. That was such a good example. If you have to think about who this video is for, it's largely for people, well, I love it, but it's largely for people who don't know these terms or phrases, correct? So most of them are going to be new to fighting games. And what I love about what he says at the end is, you know, Gandhi didn't know how to do special move FADC Ultra like his opponent did, but he knew enough to get the job, like enter a tournament, win a match, have a dope ass time, and that's all that really matters. It's not, he doesn't need to know all these fancy mechanics, doesn't need to know the most optimal thing. His opponent's getting all pissed. And that the message is obviously that could be you too. You don't need to necessarily know all these fancy, you know, techniques, and like you don't need to know the best this and the best that. You can just learn the basics from a video like this, apply it to your game, and have a great time. Looking at something like this and realizing that all those terms and phrases that you probably recognize if you play fighting games and you're interested in learning a new game, if you're a Street Fighter player, you're trying to pick up Mortal Kombat, or you're a Mortal Kombat player, you want to pick up Tekken, whatever the jump is, the things that you understand about fighting games will be present in that game. Just like how JDCR talked about how the one jab is the most important thing you can do. Is learning how to use your standing jab, your one jab is so important. And literally a week ago, we were watching Tokido, and I was like, the way he uses his standing jab is like unparalleled. Nobody is as good at using their standing jab as Tokido is in that game. It's the same mentality. It's the same kind of idea about why you use it and why it's good. It's just in a different game. But it's the exact same logic and reasoning behind it. If you haven't already looked at it, it's got almost 400,000 views on YouTube. Gerald is an absolute beast. Let me zoom in so you guys can see his channel. Go check out Corey Gaming's YouTube. Subscribe already like I'm subscribed. Video's amazing. This is one of those videos that I will point to people for forever. People will come into my chat and they'll ask me, hey, how do I learn what this, and that is? And I'll be like, well, there's this awesome video by Corey Gaming. In fact, I'll make it a goddamn thing in my chat right now. I'm going to make it a command. When it comes to fighting game content, I feel like there's certain kinds of content for certain people. The kind of content that I enjoy is very rare that I find something that's not matches or analysis that I enjoy watching. But it's very easy for me to say that when a Corey Gaming video comes out, I'll always click it. It's always going to be something that interests me. The sickest thing was that I was at Evo Japan and I was sitting there talking to, I think I was talking to Corey Gaming or I was talking to Hi-Fi. I don't remember which one was there first, but the other one came up and I was like, I can't believe these two people are at the same place at the same time. And I got to be like, do you guys know each other? And they were both like, oh, hey, how's it going? And I was like, Corey Gaming, this is Hi-Fi. Hi-Fi, this is Corey Gaming. And I was like, these are like the two most important content creators. I was like, if anything happens, we're getting you both out of the building. You can use my body as a shield. I got to get you guys out of here. Like, these two people they're too sacred. Like, they're in the same place at the same time. This is like, it was the craziest shit in the world to me. I was like, man, Hi-Fi and Corey Gaming in the same place. I was geeking out. I was like, this is fucking crazy to me.